I mean, is an intro really needed for a video like this? Probably not, so I will just start. I love Xenoblade X or Cross, but X is easier to say, and I think people love to oversell its open world to most other people, or the appeal of the game in general. I made a video about how I think Xenoblade X will flop on the Switch again, and not just because of the timing. A Switch 2 update won't move the needle much either. I also made a video about how I think it has one of the best open worlds ever, ignore my lazy reuse of the same linear I draw, so I won't go into in-depth about what makes it so great. It's amazing, but the world of it is static, and it misses the things most people love to play open worlds for. One of the bigger things the game lacks are different towns and villages, and that's how Xenoblade X is built. Xenoblade 3 would also fall into that category. Sure, that one has different bases here and there, but overall they feel very similar, except for the city itself. I love towns and villages and RPGs, going there to buy new weapons, getting gossip at the local inn, all the things that come with it and feeling you're making progress in this world. The average person loves getting to see worlds expanding in front of them, but the world in X only expands when you got your goal, and then the world is the same as before, just that you have an easier time getting around and also getting to explore more of it. And you don't even get that till later, which is a plus with the way the world is built, but for most people it's a minus. You can go anywhere you want, but why? It gives you no real reason to. It gives you a sense of freedom and feeling happy you chased around some enemies, but that's not what most people want. They want a reason to explore places. People love going to new places in their open world games like GTA or Red Dead, the feeling of getting somewhere new, where you are also doing new things. Finally leaving Los Santos and San Andreas and seeing what's out there in the world, with new cities that all have a unique flair. Quest gave us minigames and all that. Without Monolith Soft, Breath of the Wild would be a very different game, but there the exploration is also made for people who love being entertained by what the game offers you for going around the world. You can find towns, you can find shrines, you can find stables, you can find many things that keep you interested. The enemy camps are all different because you can actually interact with the world and roll rocks or put things on fire. In X you can find enemies and well, more enemies that you have to kill the same way each time and nice views. You don't have any of the side activities that people love to do in open world games. The exploration here is just totally pure for sickos like me who love amazing environments and fighting hidden super bosses. Most people want to be rewarded outside of those two things though. The structure of X is also too MMO-like to allow you to feel you're making big progress in the world like that, even if you're doing all the quests and all that. You accept your quests in New Los Angeles and you will return there once you finished it. You don't switch to a different city or base or anything that makes you feel like you're on a true journey. I wish I could enjoy Ragnarok Online like back in the day again and just mindlessly grind my time away and return to Frontera and seeing all the merchants standing around. Just listening to its theme makes me wanna cry. New Los Angeles does change over time with more and more aliens moving in there, but overall that won't be enough for most people. The story itself sadly also won't work for those kind of people then to keep them going, especially the way you unlock more chapters. And when people see big mechas, they want to be in full control of them. You can post tons of cool clips of you flying around in your mech, but the second you get into a fight and they see the combat system, they will dip out and tell you, oh, I thought it's maybe more like Armored Core or the Superior from Mecha franchise and other centuries. I love how the Persona artist worked on the third one of it. Pretty decent mecha games if you're into those. They can be played without speaking Japanese too, for the most part, since they never got released over here. Sadly, great things don't always mean great sales and all that. The game just has no real mainstream appeal. Regardless of how much you want to tell Nintendo, they fucked up the timing, the marketing or anything else. Obviously, they kinda maybe fucked it up too, but even then, it wouldn't have moved the needle too much. I love saying needle. At least we can be happy we got to play it, even if we may never get a true X sequel. The overall multiverse of the Xenoblade games at this point makes me feel a bit worried in a way. I hope Xenoblade 4 would do its own thing without all of these references to earlier games or even Saga, but I won't get that wish fulfilled because, you know, Takahashi is trying to tell the story for the last 26 years like this now, and he finally got a way to do it, even if it's really messy from a story perspective. At least on the business side, it's finally working for him and his team without any worries of going bankrupt. A company like Square would have looked at the X remastered numbers and cancelled anything in regards to Xenoblade. Nintendo wouldn't do that. Probably. Sure, the reveal of Xenoblade 1 and 2 playing at the same time was mind-blowing, and hearing Shulk drop his iconic line also has made me sorry face, but the overall connection between them outside of those little moments feels too weak-willed to me, especially 3. Almost as if it's too afraid to lean too much into it, and that's by its design. You can play Xenosaga 3 without the other two, even if you got the database in 3 or how 2 had the cutscenes of 1 contained into a movie for us here in Europe because we didn't even got the first one, or the third one either. It is poison for sales because it's like a let's play to a degree. The first part will always have the most views and then after that they drop off, because either people didn't like it or they don't want to catch up because there's so much to watch or play. despite the Xenosaga games not being overly long, at least not by older JRPG standards. Also, if you want to play them, just play them on an emulator with the HD patches who will make the games look better than Bandai Namco ever will if they decide to remaster them eventually after they've remastered every Tales of game 3 times in a row. It's a real trilogy, even if it was supposed to be way more. Things felt way more planned from the start to the end, despite us sadly not getting the full version of it or the best version possible. With Xenoblade it feels so scrambled together because it wasn't supposed to be this way. There are so many little things that feel so forced. Its multiverse to me feels a bit like a corpse strung on a string that they're trying to keep alive and fit together, which makes their own worlds a bit less special. Especially Xenoblade X had to take the brute force of it with the new version of it. They introduced probably the worst character the Xenoblade games have ever seen who would better fit into a Marvel movie, and I don't even want to call him by his name with how much I hate him. He should get all the hate that Rex had to take, which he did not deserve, and if the next MC is anything like this guy, I will praise God because then at least I won't have to buy Switch 2 for the next Xenoblade. And don't even get me started on the overall writing of the epilogue. I don't even care how bad and uninteresting the actual ending of it is, because only Suda51 could write a worse way to connect all of his games together like that for the sake of it. Xenoblade 4 is gonna be the make or break for me in that regard, but the biggest thing that worries me is the recent writing. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that the Xeno games weren't always pretty shonen-like to a degree, but they went deeper. They made you sit down and look up words or concepts you never thought about before, though most of it feels a bit more like window dressing. The best example of it would be the whole Void exchange in X now, where they talk about death. I won't show it because it's still kinda fresh and I don't want to spoil it. Mostly because I don't want to listen to it again. I sat there and thought, this is coming from the same person who was behind Gears and Saga? How is that possible? How would the same person allow this trash? This is dialogue you would find in a badly rated JRPG for the PlayStation 1, not from the same guy who has made one of the most ambitious ones with Xenogears. It's like looking for the window of a middle school doing philosophy class and thinking, wow, life-changing lines are getting dropped here, like this kid thinking that snacks and chocolate are the meaning of life. I love watching shitty isekai anime. There's also some really good ones like Kamikatsu, go watch that one of the best anime over the last couple of years, and that exchange could have easily fit into one of them where people make fun of with how trashy and generic it is. That's how bad it is. I would rather watch every single season of Solo Leveling before I ever listen to it again, while someone smeared honey onto my body and put me into the burning hot sun so bees and other insects come to eat me alive. I would rather listen to 10 albums of Mori Calliope before I ever listen to that again. I have never felt so strongly about shit writing before. Normally I wing it away and think, yep, that sucked, but this, it lives rent-free in my head with how bad it is. Xenoblade 3 towards the ending and the epilogue in extras make me think, do I even want a revamped Xenosaga in this style? Compare the scenes of Momo quoting the Bible with that of Elma, and it just looks so silly in comparison. In Xenosaga 3, those moments feel earned because of all the religious symbolism and them outright talking about religion itself throughout the games and how rooted the games are in it. They heavily lean into it without hiding mostly in the background like how things are in the Xenoblade games.
And the angel answered and said unto the women, Fear not ye, for I know that ye seek Jesus, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen as he said.
In X, they just go, yep, the Bible. Actually I meant this ancient text because Nintendo forbids me from calling it the Bible. Ever heard of that? Good times, nothing but good memories. It felt so out of touch coming out so randomly. I'm not even a religious person, but I want more religion in Blade again. It is such an interesting subject to learn about with tons of different views. I know people will tell me there's religion in the Blade games too, but it's mostly, like I said, hidden in the background, like a little name dropped here and there, but it's not something they talk about. It's not something that's right in front of your face where they actually have a deep conversation about it. It's always just like, oh yeah, there's a Bible quote and verse on Numa's chest. That's religious, right? Without spoiling anything, we won't get to see the body horror aspects of something like the two young sisters in Saga again, the Sonnen system in Xenogears, and a villain like Albedo. I like to say Albedo because that's how it would be pronounced in German, but in English it's obviously Albedo, but Bedo sounds like Speedo, and he would wear a Speedo when he went to the pool, and I don't want to imagine that, even though he is nicely built, I guess. When Xenoblade continues like this, you have some of it like the Blade or Flesh Eaters with someone like God, but he just looks cute and silly and he's nothing in comparison to other designs in the Xenoverse. Something like Jin eating Noah's heart would also fall into this category, and it sounds like I'm one of those people who think that dark means something is mature and deep, but it's nice to have both sometimes. Xenoblade 2 does get pretty dark with some topics like blades being sold off to be prostitutes and all that, but it's such a small thing in the grand scheme of it, and obviously it's done for age ratings and Nintendo not letting some things go through, most likely in greater detail and storylines. When Xenoblade 3 was first announced, I thought, wow, This could be a great premise, but then the game depicts like the most childish themes and drops the whole war thing almost right at the start. I really thought maybe we would get some kind of more gritty war story, but instead it made me feel like the whole pre-release Metal Gear Solid 5 thing, where you saw kid soldiers and thought, wow, this is gonna get rough. Is the big boss really gonna commit war crimes and all that with them? And then the totally real big boss turned out to be the most wholesome soldier possible, while every pre-release trailer made him look like a demon and all that shit. Kojimbo is washed, and maybe sadly Takahashi is too. Same with Suda51, all my beloved Japanese game designers and producers are getting too old. But at least he still gave it his all with Xenoblade 2. Do you really think Nintendo is gonna let Takahashi get away with bringing up Jesus? A quote from the Bible here and there, sure, but not more than that. I would love to be wrong. Cosmos' story without the religious aspects of it? Why not just make a new character, even though I would love for Cosmos to return? I know you don't need to show him on the screen, but they wouldn't even allow him to outright say Jesus. It would just be like, oh, remember that guy who died for our sins and revives 3 days later? And Xenosaga without Jesus, it's missing a vital ingredient. You could make Xenosaga without Jesus possible, but he's kinda like a main ingredient. It's like a specific JoJo part where you would kinda go like, oh, if I take this out, it would work, but it would kinda miss the pang. Xenoblade will keep being watered down retellings of the same things, but in lame and in a non-ambitious way. You take a look at the Gnosis and then look at the lame looking ghosts in X and let out a sad little noise and wonder, why does it have to be this way? Why does everything look and sound so much more unoriginal in here? Maybe it's because he really became a softie after he had kids. And his kids are more important in my enjoyment of his games. When they're fully grown up, they can maybe tell their dad to stop writing stuff like Xenoblade 3, which would fit on the Disney Channel, so we can go back to actually being ambitious again, if it's possible with Nintendo. Probably shutting down some ideas here and there. This makes me sound like a total hater, but I still love Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade X, the original one, and 2, since that's my favorite one together with Xenogears and Xenosaga 3. Xenoblade 3 is the only one where I would say I'm indifferent about it nowadays. I don't even see myself as a smarter person because of this, since I am dumb as fuck. Reading my own script like this makes me feel like I'm talking down to people who enjoy the Blade games, but I am not, otherwise I'm shit talking myself, even though I do that all the time. The overall themes and topics and all that are fine, but Gears and Saga just made me learn so many new things about religion, philosophy and how to see the world in a different light, while in Blade, most of those things are spelled out to you and are easy to understand for everyone. You don't need to read the Bible or every work of Nietzsche or study Gnosticism to love the earlier works of Takahashi. They want to make you look for the knowledge that you see kinda, like what the games are kinda about. You want to learn more about this and that and you look it up and you go like, oh, that's kinda interesting, that's pretty cool. And it is such a nice feeling to have in a game. Also, maybe the hottest take, but Future Redeemed Wax looks lame. Sorry to say. To me it's almost a caricature. I can't say it the English way. The English word is basically written the same way the German word is, but I can't pronounce it in English. I don't know why. Of what people think is badass. Let's put some big muscles onto this bad boy instead of keeping a somewhat normal build that fits him way better. People will say it's because he's double wielding, but we are playing a fantasy game here. A character doesn't need muscles to have big swords. Just look at the original Cloud. A Scar, I know there's a story reason for it, but still, because scars means they lost something important but he still never lost his way because of it. That's so deep, and he can feel just like Zeke now, wow. And now he's allowed to drop cool one-liners because he's not a scrawny, cringy kid anymore for some reason. That shows you how looks are still everything in the world. Doesn't help that I despise goatees, even more than goatee. I would rather see that than men having these kind of beards. They're disgusting, and an insult to hair. Shave it off right now if you have one of them. Most people who think they look good with it are the same people that buy the jacket from Drive and think they look as cool as Ryan in it. Do we even still think the Gosling is just like us, after he got Botox? Probably not. His design is just so uninteresting like this. You can pluck him out of Xenoblade 3 and throw him into any other JRPG and he would not look out of place pretty much. Then you look at young Rex and think, wow, that design is unique, even if you think it sucks. Not face-wise, but his outfit. It has the whole diving story reasons for it, and I would rather have this than some outfit you would normally see someone wear. It's unique, it makes you think, what is this? You realize it's the diving suit, but it's opened even in his face, which I don't know why there's a window on his face like that, but hey, maybe it's very free and, you know, free like the wind. It may look goofy when he's not diving and you wonder why are his face out like that? Why are there like 5 windows on him? Normally I would like them on girls, but on him it's kinda like, I don't know. Only 3 big hot takes, but I feel I mostly just wanted to rant about the quality of the writing getting worse and worse for me, and I have no other place where I can do that since I mostly keep to myself and don't like getting into arguments on sites like Twitter. We really need to bring back forums. So go ahead and insult me for saying these things, or maybe you can tell me your Xenoblade Hot Takes if you got any. Like how you would say, hey, they should add a twerking scene with Nia being oiled up, and you know, that wouldn't be a hot take. It would be hot, not a hot take. With that said, I hope you enjoyed the video and will have a good day, a good night, or whatever fits your time zone, and only time will be able to tell if the next Xenoblade continues the downward spiral for me or not. We will see in a couple of months. I would be very surprised if we won't see it in 2026, at least announced. Bye bye.